Update. Parents abandoned me for their new family. Now they both want me back because I got $1 million in inheritance. Original post. I, 21 male, have been abandoned by my family since I was around 12. You see, my parents got separated when I was 11. It took me by surprise because it all seemed fine between them. One fine day, they both sat me down and said that they were getting divorced. I thought this was going to be a prank because I had different notions about divorce. I heard from my friends that when their parents got divorced, there was at least a year-long fight and yelling. In my case, it was a silent divorce. They said that they both liked someone else. Mom would be moving out with her new boyfriend while Dad's mistress would move into our house. They would have joint custody of me. Since both Mom and Dad would only be 2 miles apart, I could stay between them weekly. I didn't know what to say, rather I didn't have anything to say in that. My family was splitting apart and all I could do was sit and sob. My parents assured me that I would be their topmost priority. They both promised all sorts of things, like getting me the latest video games, taking me on vacations, and getting me anything that I wanted. I wish I could make them understand that I didn't want any of those things. I just wanted to live with them in the same house as a family. It was tough for me to see Mom packing her stuff and leaving the house, and watching Dad's mistress unloading her truck and setting my parents' bedroom as hers. Mom and Dad got separated on good terms. Stepmom had twin boys almost the same age as me. They both hated me in the same way that I hated them. My mom's boyfriend had a daughter from his previous wife, but she was living with her mother. I thought of spending more time at Mom's, but soon after that she moved out. She got pregnant with her boyfriend's baby. It all got so weird and complicated. I felt like I was not welcome there. My mom's husband got uncomfortable seeing me. They would get into these PDAs in front of me and I hated it. In my dad's house, I felt the same way because my stepmom and her sons hated me. So I started living more and more with my aunt, father's sister, who was also my godmother. She was 10 years older than my father and was living alone, so I occasionally showed up at hers. After a year of shuffling between the 3 houses, I permanently moved in with my aunt. It took more than 3 months for my parents to realize that I had moved in with my aunt. Mom thought I was at Dad's and Dad thought that I was at Mom's. They didn't bother to check on me during this period. They both were so busy with their new lives that they forgot that I existed. My aunt was a real savior. She made me feel loved and wanted. She would take me out for dinners and movies. I used to tag along with her for vacations. During the summer, we used to visit Grandpa at his farm in the countryside. It was fun living with her. Initially, Dad used to send monthly allowances to Aunt, but eventually he started defaulting on that. Sometimes Aunt would used to remind them, and sometimes she would let it slide. I felt bad for piling up on her, so I started working for her and earning my living. She had a plant nursery. I worked there after my school was out, and I also helped her with household chores, taking out the trash and even running groceries for her. It was fun living with her. Meanwhile, my parents forgot that they had a son. They even forgot my birthdays. Only when my aunt reminded them. They would call and say that they loved me so much. Sometimes I heard Aunt calling and informing them that I was sick, but none of them ever showed up. Even on my school's graduation day, none of them showed up. It was my aunt who was there to cheer me on. When my aunt called them to school about their negligence, they would call me and apologize. I grew so resentful of them that I stopped answering their calls. Eventually, they stopped calling me. They would now lay the blame on me that I had grown rude and was not answering their calls. I said, if you guys want to have a blame game, so be it. I'm not going to let that affect me. I don't want you guys in my life. After school, I went to the university and moved out of my aunt's place. I still visit her every few months. I ensure to show up at her birthdays and holidays because she has also gotten attached to me over the years. I'm in my final year at the university. 3 months back, my grandpa, father's side, passed away. It was a terrible moment for both me and my aunt. We both were closest to him. Dad and my other uncles barely visited him. The irony is, they all turned up for his funeral and at the lawyer's office to see his will. Unfortunately for them, Grandpa gave all of his belongings to my aunt, his 150-acre farmland, the house, and $1 million in cash. The remaining money he gave off to charity. This was brutal, but if you know his side of the story, it would make sense. I'll write about it in another thread. Briefly understand that my grandpa was ill for a long time and he wanted to meet his sons. Despite my aunt requesting his brothers to visit Grandpa, none of them ever showed up. My aunt shifted with him in his final days to take care of him, and I had moved out for the university by then. After getting possession of the property, my aunt called me home. Her house is what I call home. She told me that she would be giving me the $1 million that Grandpa had left her. The happiness I felt was beyond words. Not because she gave the money, yeah, somewhat, but moreover, to think that she cared for me so much. When I was living with her, I used to rant about how I wanted to start my own company, hire employees, and so on. She gave me the money and asked me to use it for my dream venture. I just hugged her and cried. If not for her, my life would have been miserable. It didn't take much time for this news to reach my parents. Bam! They started suddenly showering me with their unconditional love. Surprise, surprise. They started calling and checking in on me. I asked them to back off. I don't want you guys back in my life. Last week, Dad showed up at my dorm. Of course, he got the address from my aunt. I bet none of them remember which university I'm studying at. He said he was so proud that I would be graduating this year. And after singing praises of me, he asked me why I was not visiting his home. I asked him, when was the last time that you called? He stood silent and said, "Oh, so you're still mad at us for the divorce? Come on, move on. We both love you. Your mother also misses you. Let me drive you home, then we can all have dinner together." I said, back off. The only family that I have is my aunt. You both abandoned me long before, so quit showing off your fake love. I know why you're here. That $1 million brought you here, right? He remained silent and said that he had no ulterior motive except for love. He was there to say sorry and wanted me back in his life. He said he heard my graduation was nearing, hence he was here to ensure that I invited them, unlike school graduation day when I didn't call either of them. I hated having any conversation with him, so I left him midway saying that I had class. The same day, I got a voicemail from Mom. She said that she was expecting an invite for my graduation day. She said that she and Dad could attend the university, so they both always dreamt of me going to the university. Hence, she was very excited. The thing is, I don't want either of them on my big day. I told my aunt about this, and she said it was up to me, but she suggested that I reconcile with my parents. I don't know what to do. I also don't know if they're reconciling for the money or if they are genuinely happy for me getting a university degree. This is what I would do. You need to get your aunt to play along with you on this, but you need to pretend like you no longer have the $1 million, that you possibly gave it back to your aunt or somebody else, and then see what your parents' reaction is then. Best of luck to you, OP. Now for the updates. Update 1. Hello there. Sorry for the late update. Life has been busy. Good news. I have graduated from the university. I landed a job as well. Thank you. Well, let me start by answering some of the common questions that I got in the comments. First was about my aunt. People asked me about her family and how she was able to accommodate me for so many years. I think I wrote in my last post that my aunt is 10 years older than my dad. When I moved to her place, she was in her late 50s. She was single. Her husband died in an accident when I was tiny, maybe 1 or 2 years old. She has a daughter who moved out in her teens for medical school. She's a cardiologist now and is settled in the UK. So my aunt has been living alone. She didn't date any men after her husband's demise. Her daughter and I tried to set her up with a few men, but she absolutely denied it. She said that she loved her plants and was happy nursing them. Some of you said that it was too hard on my parents, that they have a right to get separated and remarry. You all are right. They do have the freedom to leave and choose their partner. But it is never justified to ignore your children after your new family comes into your life. My parents did the same. They neglected me for their new family. Initially, they said that I would stay 1 week at Dad's and 1 week at Mom's. Though they would be following a schedule, sometimes they would be like, it's my time again to have you. They would always plan without me. Their dinner plans would always be after I left. They would even talk like this in front of me. Oh, this week he's here. Let's go out next week. How would you feel if your parents behaved like this? I think I've spoken about my mom, that within a few months of her moving in with her new boyfriend, she got pregnant. They indulged in PDAs in front of me, which was unbearable. They once took me on a 2-day trip with them. They made me sit inside the room for the whole 2 days while they went outside sunbathing. When they were in the room, they would ask me to sit on the balcony outside. Though I was a kid, I knew exactly what was going on inside. I mean, I was 11. Besides, I could hear them doing stuff. Gross, I know. And that man is not even your father. How do you expect me to stick around them? I stopped going to mom's after that. Dad was still better than mom. Sometimes he tried to include me in the plans, but his stepsons would throw tantrums at him. Then he would say, okay, skip this one. Maybe next week father and son go fishing. That next week would never come because the next week I would be at mom's. Soon I realized that my parents had some sort of agreement that whenever they had to get rid of me, they would say, let's do it next week. And then next week, I would be the other one's responsibility. Once he was able to tag along with me on their family vacation, and it was so horrible. The first day we all went, his wife and her sons kept him busy, and I felt so neglected. Even for the family pictures, they would ask me to take their pictures. I was in none of the pictures with them. There were just 4 pictures of me. In 3 of them, I was alone, and in 1, it was with my dad. I guess now I've given some context to people who have been telling me that I was too harsh on my parents. Anyway, talking about the current situation, like I said, my parents wanted me back in their lives. They said it was because they wanted to be part of my graduation day, and it was a proud moment for them. I said, I don't want you guys on my big day. Where were you guys during my high school graduation? Busy with your new family, that's right. When they persisted further, I said, okay, but I didn't invite them. I thought that they would again reach out to me as the graduation day approached. I even got extra hall tickets for them in case they showed up and invited them, but they didn't. They forgot about it. My aunt attended the convocation. I strictly asked her to not reveal the dates to my parents. It is almost a month now since the graduation day, but none of them called me to check for the dates. So my graduation was just an excuse for them to have me back in their life. Update 2. Here's a new update. Almost 2.5 months after my graduation day, Mom called me and said that my half-sister had graduated from primary school, and now they have put her in a private elementary school. However, they have a shortage of funds and they want me to pitch in. I was flabbergasted at her demand. When I asked why, she said that she was my sister, so I should fund her education. She didn't waste any time coming to the point. She said, we know that your aunt has given away her $1 million inheritance money to you. Of course you do. She continued, your sister needs you. This is your time to step up and be a big brother. I stopped her right there. Hello, delusional you. I have never seen that sister you're talking about. Where were you when I needed my mom? When I was sick and cold, you were nowhere. What can I say if you're still stuck in the past? I thought you had a huge sum of money. What are you going to do with it? So what's better than your sister getting educated in a private school? I wanted to say a lot, but I didn't. I said that I had plans for that money and that I could not spare a penny to anyone else. She hung up the phone after that. She didn't even ask me about the graduation day. I was right. Their rekindled love was only for money. I was still processing it one day when I got a call from the bank. They wanted me to pay for my dad's defaulted mortgage. I asked where they got my number. They said Dad gave it to them. Dad had taken a personal loan and he didn't pay the mortgage for a few months. When they came hunting for him, he requested them to contact me because he had run out of money. To be honest, I panicked initially because I had no idea how this process worked. I got scared thinking maybe I was legally obligated to pay his debt since I was his son. Thankfully, I didn't succumb to the pressure and told them that I needed to check with my dad first. Instead of talking to him first, I called up a lawyer friend. He wasn't a lawyer though, he was still in his final year of law school, but he knew the felonies quite well. He said no, I was not legally bound. He asked then how come the bank called me for the money. He said the recovery agent has the leverage to recover the amount from anyone who wants to pay on the loanee's behalf, but I can refuse at any time. I didn't call Dad after that. I knew he would plead with me to pay for his mortgage. Knowing it was not me, I waited for the bank to call me again. They called after a week and asked when I would be giving them the money. The recovery agent had a certain assertive tone to scare off people. I was intimidated by it at first, but this time I charged them and I said, "Who gave you the right to talk to me like this? Did I default on the mortgage? No, right. Then you better watch your tone and I'm not going to pay a penny. You can contact the person who defaulted and not me." They said sorry and hung up. I didn't need to school them, yet I deliberately did so that they could unleash their anger on the original defaulter, my dad. A couple hours later, I got a call from Dad's wife. Sorry, I can't call her mom or even stepmom. She was yelling at me. She was asking why I told off the recovery officers. They got so pissed off they took Dad by his collar and asked him to pay the mortgage or else they would break his bones. I remained quiet and said that I just told them to chase the original loaner and not me. She screamed at me, "Don't you have any heart for your dad? He's struggling to pay the mortgage, and you're looking other ways despite having so much money with you." I said, "Yeah, I don't have any heart for him because he didn't have his for me. He has his heart for you and your boys, so why don't you guys chip in? I'm sure he would have taken that money from you people." She hung up after that. That same night, Dad called me. He was drunk and not angry. He was sobbing. He said he was sorry for his mistakes, that he didn't treat me right in front of his stepsons. He said several other things which basically implied how sorry he was, and he had realized his mistakes and wanted to make things right. I said I don't want to talk about my past, and I definitely don't want to have them back in my life. He said he was remorseful and pleaded that I forgive him. I said sorry and remorse don't matter to me anymore. I have learned to live without them, and I would like to leave it that way. I don't know if I did the right thing by denying him the money. I do feel bad that he was being chased by the bank officials. Update 3. Thanks for the valuable comments. Some of you are right in saying that it wouldn't have hurt me to cover a couple of months of his mortgage. Even I thought so. But do you know what? After writing the last update, I felt so remorseful that I was about to call Dad and ask how much money he needed. But before that, I got a mail from my mom inviting me for dinner. It was written that, "Sorry, we couldn't make it to your graduation day, so I want to do this for you. Just the three of us, me, Dad, and you, like old times." I was not so keen on reminiscing about the old family time. I accepted the invite, though. I wanted to end this saga. I showed up, and they were saying the same thing that Dad was saying the other day. Sorry, apologies, remorse, forgiveness, and getting back together as a family. I just played along, nodded, and smiled. I wanted to see where it goes. Out of nowhere, Mom goes, "Baby, we were wondering what plans you have for the money." I looked at her and she said, "No, I mean Dad and I could suggest you some good investment advice. You're pretty young to take this decision on your own." I casually said, "Yeah, Ann is helping me with that, so I'm good, thank you." Silence prevailed for the next few minutes. She makes a comeback and says, "You know, your dad has been in trouble because he defaulted on the mortgage." I said, "I know, but Dad, why did you take out that personal loan for business?" He lowered his head and said, "For his son's college." Before I could react to that, Mom said, "Doesn't matter whatever the purpose, the question is, Dad is in trouble and we have to help him." I was thinking, why don't you clear off his mortgage and his stepson would pay you back once he gets a job? And the remaining money, you could give it to me. Remember I said that your half-sister needs to be put in a private school. She'll pay you back once she gets older and earns. I replied, "How about we silently eat her dinner and call it a day?" She lost her mind at my sarcastic reply and yelled that I was still the attention-seeking brat who only cared about himself. I said, "Yeah, that is what I am." I could have lectured them about their behavior, but who wanted to waste time on them? I mean, they know that I have the education loan to pay off, but still, they wanted me to give my money to my stepbrother's loan and my half-sister's private education and work hard to pay off my own loan. Why? Wow. I said, "I'm done with you guys. I was right. You guys came back into my life only for the money, and you know what? Suck it up. You don't get a penny." I left the table, leaving my share of the dinner bill on the table. Story 2. My partner, 27 male, and I, 30 female, got Live 360 for innocent reasons, and oh man, what a horrible idea. Has this happened to anyone else? Basically a blip in time with no visible trip. My partner, 27 male, and I, 30 female, have been together for 2.5 years. We have been long distance for about the last year or so, and have plans to move in together later this year. He wanted to use a tracking app for, and I swear I have no reason to lie here, actually innocent reasons since I have recently moved cross country. I've been driving a ton and he wanted to make sure that I was safe without worry. He had asked in the past, but I said nah because I knew what this shit would do to me. But I did finally give in once I moved in to give him some peace of mind. And well, that shit has done to me exactly what I expected it to. I honestly wasn't stalking it because I didn't feel the need at all, until one day I opened it, and the very first thing at the top of my screen was 2 separate little pinpoints. Basically, one pinpoint says he was home from 11 p.m. to 1 a.m., and the very next said he was home from 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. There was no apparent trip in between. I will take the criticism here, but I'd like to avoid talking to him about this if it could honestly just be a glitch, but I won't lie, I feel weird about it, and Googling it made it even worse. Like, y'all, please just tell me this has happened to you before, and it's just a weird glitch, or that there's an honest-to-God innocent reason for this. I was good and didn't use a tracking app for 2 damn years and just trusted him, and I'm going to lose it if we get it just under a month ago, only for me to find out he's cheating. ETA. He does live in a basement and cell service isn't great there, which I do admit I'm probably only telling myself because I don't want it to be true. But adding it in case, it really should be a reason for this. Edit 2. Well, he just got off work and I brought it up. He insists he doesn't know what happened because he was just at home playing video games and watching porn. Don't come for us, we are both fine with porn and Lord knows, I'd rather have him doing that than God knows what else. I was still clearly a little hesitant, and he offered to show me his history. His internet history, which indeed showed that he was watching YouTube videos and porn until around 4 a.m. Obviously, he was a little frustrated, but like, no way in hell a man would be watching porn in the middle of the night if he wasn't going to F, much less offer to show it as proof, right? So, yeah, I'm not sure what happened, and I'm honestly not sure what to think just yet. But I own up to the fact that I clearly need to work through my own crap that had me jumping the gun to post on Reddit. But anyway, that's the update. Obviously, please still let me know and what happened with this app if you know, but looks like I need to go back to using no tracking apps. Edit 3. And hopefully last one, so we're calling and looking through the history together. There have been, in fact, multiple instances, though admittedly not just 2 pinpoints at home several hours apart, where his location just cut off. For example, one day his tracker said that he was only home until 5 p.m., and then it didn't turn on until the next day when he left for work. But we video called each other that night. Looking at my history next, mine did the exact same thing. So moral of the story is that Live 360 is a whack, and I clearly have unresolved issues that I need to work on, and I'm so grateful for the comments here that encouraged me to talk to him. Now for the comments. I'm a plumber and I spend a significant amount of time in basements and crawl spaces. Can confirm my service often goes out when I go under. Most of my bars, all of my Gs, all 5 of them, not a single G left, and with that location data. Can't pull anything up on GPS if the phone can't talk to towers or satellites. I don't know the ins and outs of Live 360, but it would seem sensible to me that upon losing the signal, the app would have no choice but to break up the lines. I would call it a glitch, per se, rather I suspect it's just what the app will do when the app can't communicate wirelessly. Add to that, he's been asking you to get it for a while, and it really doesn't make a lot of sense to me why he would be out cheating unless he's being like super strategic about when he turns it off. You're in LDR. Most of your partner's movements will be the things you aren't expressly told about. That's the danger with these apps, but he, like most people, is probably just doing boring daily crap. Getting Starbucks, walking through the park, stopping on the side of the road to watch an entire family of deer completely wreck some poor soul's garden, but you aren't there, so you don't know that. So all you see is him stopped in front of some random house thinking, is he cheating on me? When in reality, he's watching an ungulate destroy a raspberry plant, thinking to himself, man, that dude should have really put a net over that. That's all for today. If you're enjoying this story, please like the video and share your thoughts in the comments section down below. Thank you.